and welcome to another studio vlog. It is Sunday, December 8th, and it is probably not the most opportune time to put up a vlog, according to if you like Google when you should have put up a video, but you know what, I'm gonna get her done. So yeah, I hope you had a great Thanksgiving and enjoyed friends and family. And a little time to just do your thing in the studio. I had a crowd. We had our big Thanksgiving celebration with the entire family. But I did manage to get up some stuff on my Etsy shop that I wanted to hit. But the main thing I wanted to declare, I mean, it doesn't really matter, is I have spent the last 2 years doing cross-stitch design, and I'll stick some examples up pertinent to this time of year that I've done for the past 2 years. They're all up on my Etsy shop as PDFs. If you're so inclined to stitch them, that would be wonderful. But you know, the artist muse is a interesting thing, and I don't know, I just got to that calendar year of kind of hitting all the seasons with the cross stitch, and just was like, that was my husband sneezing if you heard that from a distance. I just kind of got to that calendar year and was just like, I'm done. You know, I love cross stitch. I love all embroidery work. I love all needlework. I can't think of one that I'd be like, oh, I don't enjoy doing it. But I don't, just the muse called for me to jump back into fabric collage, which I hadn't really done for almost 3 years. So I listened to the muse and I jumped back and kind of just, you know, I actually have cross stitch patterns to release periodically, kind of peppered through next year, not with a lot of consistency, but I have several designs that I've been working on that I haven't released yet. Just seasonally, it's not the right time to release them. But yeah, but I gotta say that I am kind of excited and thrilled to be just doing my original work again, which I have a pile over here to share. But I did cross stitch as a teenager, went to art school, and then after that developed a style that I call Fabric Collage, which is technically raw edge applique, and then I do a lot of stitch work, embroidery work on top of it. I've done larger pieces, medium-sized pieces, and then kind of I had an aha moment where I thought about putting them in vintage cookie cutters, which you can hear my pile of cookie cutters. Here's an example of what I'm talking about. This is a traditional dollar horse. And then here is what I call it, oops, as I throw it, a dollar breed, which is like a dapple gray. And I put them in vintage cookie cutters. And then I have vintage beads from the 1950s, Mardi Gras or whatever, that I, turn into ornaments. So it is fabric collage. It's not complete thread. There's some fabric. And then I just do a lot of stitching on top, either on top for embellishments. And these are all up on my Etsy shop. So this is the traditional dollar horse. This is the dapple gray dollar horse. So I have 2 horses. I have, where is the other one? I have 2 traditional reindeer that again are in the vintage cookie cutters. And the horses are very easy to find. That's why I do have chart designs, how to do these up on my website. I'll put a thing here. Reindeers, I can find them, but I can't find them consistently enough to encourage other people to stitch this and then find the cookie cutter. But I sell the originals. So I have reindeer up on my website, up on my Etsy shop, which is MF Studio Stitch. I have a few angels, again in the traditional, these are copper, probably from the 1950s. Angel ornaments that again are the raw edge applique, and then I do like their hair, the braid, I'm using this angel to point. Her hair is baguette stitch, you know, kind of making it really curly. Down on their lace is French knots. So those are some angels I have available right now. Of course, I have some Santas that are, and these are all, how to say it, individually worked. So there is going to be some differences in them. You can see that these Santas are both Santa, but they're not exact replicas of each other. And all the toys inside his bag, those are all just embroidery work. Chain stitch, French knot, you know, a combo. So I have those, and one has a knob and is aluminum, and then this is copper. So I have some Santas up there. I have a snowman, again in a snowman cookie cutter. The scarf is all embroidery work. The broom straw is embroidery work. But believe it or not, his eyes and his nose are actually pieces of fabric that I couched down. And then his little holly, that's embroidery work. So I have those. This is a antique cookie cutter. This is tin. And this is probably hand welded, where these are probably more machine made. But the tin, I once in a while will get lucky. I got a huge bag of all tin that I still haven't used them all. And they're probably about 100 years old. And I have a Christmas dog. And then this is a new series that I have been playing with cross stitch. And I probably will release it as cross stitch next year, if I can release it where it makes sense to release a wintertime cross stitch and it's still wintertime enough. If I can't, then I'll release it next fall. These are skiers. In traditional gingerbread cookie cutters, but I call them ginger gals. And I have a lot of ideas to put into, to sell as my original fabric collage work, but also to make as designs for other people to stitch as cross stitch. And they're all, I call it ginger gals and pals. And they always will have a ginger, but with friends, multicultural friends, and but also be gals. I might throw a couple guys in there, but these are not gingerbread men. These are gingerbread gals or ginger gals. So I have some fabric collage of them, but you're going to see and these are really easy to find. I have so many of these cookie cutters. So yeah, so I have these up, and these are for, you know, if you have someone, if you enjoy skiing or you have someone in your family who skis, I have a lot of fun making these. They're kind of a old-fashioned ski, but here's a close-up of Ginger. And then she has, and then the backs are often different. There's a lot of different styles in the backs. And then this is one of her friends in overalls. And this is another one of her friends with braids. So yeah, so I also had a Christmas penguin that I'll put up here because it's already sold. Yeah, did you know there was a Christmas penguin? And here's a challenge for you. Can you figure out what that cookie cutter is? I'll give you a hint. It's not a penguin. Don't go looking for a penguin, in antique stores. It's a very, very common cookie cutter. And I'm just curious if anyone can figure out what it is that I turned into a penguin. So those are what is up in my Etsy shop, MF Studio Stitch. And I do have notes. I said hello. I wished everyone, I think, a happy Thanksgiving. Talked about how my muse for my original work and creating my own creations and not making patterns and charts kind of came back and said, hello. So I am now going on that track for a while. Not to say I'm not going to jump back the other way. I showed you my ornaments on Etsy. Oh, so pricing. This is an interesting thing. And this is also one of the things that I kind of do want to talk about. And if you're familiar with what I've been doing for the past 2 years, there is a very wonderful very wonderful group of people that go by the name FlossTube on YouTube. It's kind of like going by Writer's Tube or having a travel, like if you go on cruises, you like put that hashtag in and then you just see everybody's work. And it was very interesting to follow them for like 2 years, because pricing your work is so hard for anybody. And I think it's even more hard for women for multiple reasons. But I just realized that people spend a lot of money on what they want to spend money on. And that money could be spent, and it's certainly what I spend money on, is fabric and thread. I mean, hand-dyed threads now are like $3.50, $4.50, when you can buy just DMC for like 75 cents to $1. Hand-dyed fabrics, sometimes buying hand-dyed fabrics from across the world. People enjoy buying, like they call it a project bag, where another artisan has stitched a bag that are gorgeous with put in zippers and had gorgeous fabric. And a lot of times those project bags are themed to whatever project they're working on. Doing other things that you have to buy beads or, just equipment to do your stitching. So it kind of, and I don't even really know where to go with it. All I know is that women are spending money in the crafting industry of needlework. Certainly they're spending money in the quilting industry. We know this. We know how expensive fabric is. But there's this thing as a person that is making work to sell, you feel like you have to price it very minimal. We just went to our local craft bazaar, and there were ladies who were selling felted little critters, hand felting, like I take the needle and kind of, do this for, pricing them like at $18. And I know, because I've done this enough, I know that it probably took them, 5 or 6 hours, maybe a whole day of working, and they're pricing these things at $18. So yeah, it's an interesting thing. You all have to draw, every one of us have to kind of draw our line. So what I did is I went on Etsy. I know how much work I put in to these hand stitch, cookie cutters. Yes, they're an ornament. And I've sold at Christmas bazaars where women have told me I would never spend that money on an ornament. And I kind of want to say, but it's a little miniature piece of art. Like, it's all how you look at it. But I, just had to find some place, some way to price them. And so I really searched Etsy for similar style work, which frankly for my work is kind of hard to find. The closest I got were felt animals, like the felted with the needle and kind of sculpted felt animals. And they are cute. I mean, there's ladies both in the US and the UK and Europe who are doing them, and they'll do little mice, you know, or a little polar bear sitting on, and they'll find like found objects like a vintage toothbrush or something, and they'll have a little penguin sitting on it. So I decided, I mean, these are half felt. The backs of them are wool felt, you know, 100% wool felt. You know, and then I put Velcro on to hold them into their cookie cutter. I think that's the closest to what I do. I admit I do something that's unusual. So I just priced at the same level as the women who do the 100% felt ornaments. And frankly, it's at the top end of ornaments on Etsy. I think they're all priced at $75. And I say that I almost am like wanting to apologize, like I'm sorry that I am pricing my work at $75. But then I think to myself, one, I know I have seen on FlossTube how much women have spent on craft supplies. And it's a heck of a lot more than $75. And then the other thing I've noticed to rationalize for myself, substitute teachers at schools for one day make $75. My cleaning lady that we have a vacation rental, I've shared that before, we're at the base of Mesa Verde National Park. I pay her more than I ask for myself as an artist. And, you know, I'm glad to pay her a lot. Like, she should get a decent wage for cleaning houses. I'm not arguing that at all. I think we should probably pay those, you know, people who do that kind of a labor more. I totally agree with. I personally would I would be okay with spending more money on stuff if the people got more money. Totally fine with that. I don't know why I, as a woman who is a professional artist, crafter, whatever you want to call me, feels like I have to apologize for pricing this at $75. The reality is that the way a lot of artwork is priced is by square unit. This isn't, I mean, I'm still making less than $10 an hour with the amount of work. But this is the thing about art. This should not be priced by how much work I put into it. That's not what art's about. This should be priced by the value it has in the marketplace. That's how art is priced. It's not a labor pricing. It's a value of this object in the marketplace. And I have sold these for $75 at Christmas bazaars and you know, actual pop-up places at Christmas time previous years. I'm just starting at the base, what I have sold them for before. So yeah, so those are up on my Etsy. I have multiple cross-stitch PDFs, and they're like $8. I do have, it's at the bottom of the pile now. Okay, Dollar Horse, where did you go? Seriously, Dollar Horse, where did you go? Oh, I do have cross-stitch charts for the Dollar Horses. So these, like I said, these are $75 for mine. Or there are, you know, I think there might even be 6. I think the Dollar Horse pattern is like, might be even slightly more, maybe like 9 or 12, because every pattern of a horse, I have like 4 or 5 patterns, if I remember correctly, in that pattern. So yeah, so that's what's up on my Etsy shop right now. And got to get those all piled over there. So I talked about that. In that strain, kind of, I wanted to let you know that I also have a new podcast up on my podcast channel, which is called the Kelly Lewis Podcast, Pondering Women's Place in Art, Literature, and Culture. And the kind of the things I really do talk about a lot on that channel is women's work and women's art, and where do we fit in? Where is our place? Should we attach a large price tag to our work, or somehow do we not need to do that? But that's kind of actually what the topic of this week's podcast is, which is craft is not a 4-letter word. Art kind of is. And I do talk about kind of original work in women's work, and, have a discussion about that. So yeah, so that's up on the Kelly Lewis podcast. It is available on Spotify, iHeartRadio. You can access it off of my kellylewispodcast.com. And I also have a full transcript of it if you just want to read it, with links and pictures to what I'm talking about, that is on my art website, which is moonflowerstudio.biz. So I have hit that, talked about that. So then I want to, just for a second, to go back to cross stitch, because I kind of was in the middle of a quandary my last vlog, and it's about, and this has not been released yet. I will probably release it, like I said, a year from now, when I have other chickadees. Yeah, to be determined. But this is my chickadee. This is a cross stitch. It'll be a cross stitch PDF. This is my chickadee and my winter chickadee and winter berries cross stitch. And I learned some things about frames with this. And what I learned was that trying to buy offline cheap square frames is difficult, because it's like to have the half marks, like 4.5 by 4.5 or 5.5 by 5.5. They're really hard to find. And short story is that I realized that I really did want to do more work this size, whether it is cross stitch or whether it is my original work, because right now what I'm doing is I'm building up original work that I then will try and get back into farmers markets and juried art festivals and a Christmas bazaar where I actually sell here in the Four Corners region for Christmas with my original work. So this year I'm just building up my inventory. So doing that and realizing that getting exactly the right dimension, whether you're doing that, let's see if I can hold it up, with a cross stitch, or you're going to do it with original design, is tricky. So I went on Etsy and just kind of stocked up on my frames. This frame I love. I bought it at Hobby Lobby, and sometime I will do a how I frame, but I ripped the backs off of them. So that's why there's this glue. But this is deep enough for me to fit my what's it called? Core. Oh my gosh, my brain's gone. Core board? That's not right. Foam core. Foam core, where it's like two pieces of board and then foam in the middle. That's what I wrap my work around. So I like it. I'll use it. But then I was on a search for something that would be better dimensionally for this. So I have a pile here that I got off of Etsy that I wanted to throw out. Right away, these are expensive. These are not your 50% off Hobby Lobby deals, where I think you can usually maybe walk out with $14 sometimes, depending on how you're hitting their 50% thing. These are custom made, sized from framers on Etsy. And it was kind of like, duh, of course, real framers are going to be on Etsy, because they have the inventory and they have the equipment. And that kind of is what is such a pain with framing. If you just have an art studio, I mean, look how piled everything is. And it's dusty and there's like little pieces of fuzz and fiber. And that is what you don't want when you're making frames. So I'm like, I'm going to just, if I can think ahead enough, get framers on Etsy to, to use their precise skill, their precise cutting equipment, and make me wonderful frames. And then I don't have to deal with that. So, boy, one thing, framers, put your labels on the back. I'm amazed at how many of these I can't identify unless I go back to my records. And I will in the description of this, I will list all the framers I used on Etsy because I'm happy with all of them. Like, but this one did, and it is the Rusty Roof. And a lot of them have like set sizes, and then some of them have it where you can just request, a specific size. So like if I was like, okay, this artwork is coming out to be 3.5 by 3.5, they could cut it. But and they all came with great ways to hang. They're deep. They have everything I need. So this one is Rusty Roof, and I like that treatment on it. And then I got two, and I don't know who this is, but I got a gold, a silver, and a gold. And I must have been kind of on a kick to do square of theirs. This one I'm working on something right now. And I love this. It almost looks like it's enameled. And it had red and it had green. And I really like the green. Hopefully after I'm done with this and get it posted, this is what what I'm doing in this. I'm hoping to get up on my Etsy shop before Christmas. This is Braceller Attell Art and Framing from Milwaukee. And they're up on Etsy. So I have an idea for this already. And then I got two from Fado, who gave a really nice little note. Thank you for choosing. We love looking forward to your valuable comments. So I will list up their name also, because I got two from them and I really like what they did. But yeah, I'm really happy to, Doi, of course, framing would be something that I got dark all of a sudden. Oh, now I'm light. That would be fantastic to get off of Etsy. They all came very well packaged. They had like little bumpers on the corners. They were very well protected. They all have like, cellophane on them. They all averaged about $40 a frame. So there's that, like, but again, after hanging out with cross stitchers for 2 years and seeing what they do spend money on, I spend $40 on a frame. And it really does go the spectrum, from people who do go to Walmart or do go to Hobby Lobby. And I go to Walmart and I go to Hobby Lobby. I stitch with just, DMC thread. I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying there is a very wide spectrum. So spending, a good chunk of change on a hand stitched ornament, I'm okay with. And also spending a medium chunk of change on a very nice frame after all the work I've done on something, or you do with like a cross stitch design or your own original work. I think we need to stop apologizing that's not okay, because it is totally okay. Okay, so talked about my podcast, talked about my frames. Okay, so another thing that has changed recently is, I don't know if you're aware or how many people do stuff on TikTok. TikTok kind of has the rep of being somewhat for a younger crowd, but more and more there has been a growth of craftsmen, craftspeople, and artisans and artists on TikTok. And I really have enjoyed TikTok. My girls, my daughters really encouraged me to do it, and I didn't do it for a long time, and then I did it, and it's just less restrictive than Instagram. You can your little video or your whatever can be any length, which is kind of a restriction for some of the other video type reels on the other channels. But there has been some issues with TikTok in the news about it being owned by China, and Congress has made some laws that in theory could play out first of next year, that people in the United States will not have access to TikTok. Is that bad? Is that good? Is that free speech? I don't know. I don't know. But just as far as I'm concerned, because I was starting to rely on TikTok for like process videos and longer, just like short little chats or short little, comments, not like a formal YouTube. I kind of, like a lot of other artists, had to kind of be like, okay, if TikTok goes away, what am I going to do? Well, I want to let you know that I literally post the exact same thing. Long form, like what I'm doing right now, I only post on YouTube. But the short little things, either like in the morning I'm stitching and the dog is sleeping next to me, I might take a little video, and do a little stitching. I went and got a little mount for my car because I seem to have very deep, very profound things to share when I'm driving around. And I don't want to get in the house, set up the stuff in I just want to share my, probably not that profound, but I want to share, thing in the car. So I have been started to do some little car videos too. I do those. What else have I done? I have started to do some techniques. I was doing some more embroidery techniques, I guess, than really true. Well, I was doing some stuff with a fractional cross stitch. Now that I am more working on my fabric collage and my embroidery, I probably will continue to do more techniques on straight embroidery, that kind of a thing. Which I was putting up on TikTok because it just made sense. But I also would try and put it up on Facebook, has a little video opportunity. Instagram has a little video opportunity. Pinterest could too. I could even put those things up on my website and then have a link to Pinterest and have, people follow me on Pinterest and link in. There's still multiple ways to do it. The one thing I think I am going to add, there's a couple other apps that people are saying, oh, when TikTok goes away, that you should then use. One of them is called Lemon8. And what I'm really confused about is apparently it's owned by the same Chinese company that owns TikTok. So if the Congress is so concerned about China taking over or whatever, then why are they allowing people to put stuff on Lemon8? I don't know. I mean, what's the phrase? Following that at a deep level is kind of out of my wheelhouse. I just, go figure. But I do think, and I did research a little bit, like, okay, TikTok's going away. What is the next best alternative? And multiple sources said YouTube Shorts, which I have looked at and I follow a little bit, but I have not really done much with. So I was like, oh, well, that's easy since I'm already on YouTube for the long form. Like right now I'm at 33 minutes. I think YouTube Shorts can be up to 3 minutes, which is plenty of time for me to show a technique or to show my process video or to have a little profound moment in my car. So I think I'm going to start to post also on YouTube Shorts. So as long as TikTok lasts, the same thing will be on TikTok, YouTube Shorts, Facebook, and Instagram Reels. I have on Facebook, I have a personal page that I'm not adding anybody to. It's just people I know, mostly my aunts in Minnesota. I also have a artist page that anybody can see. Mostly the stuff is exactly the same. Instagram mostly is exactly the same. The one thing is Instagram stories, which disappears like in a day. I was using it and showing maybe like a part of like where I was with a chart or a pattern that hadn't been released yet. And I just wanted to show a little hint of what I was doing. I'll probably still do that with my original work. And some people just prefer, it's up to you. Some people prefer stories. Some people prefer Instagram Reels. Some people prefer Facebook. Some people prefer TikTok. I plaster the same thing up everywhere. So I want to let you know right now, I am set up to have emails. I know that people are like, oh my gosh, you should make sure you have emails. Two problems I have with that. One is I know how fun it is to sit down and purge my emails. And I just don't want to do that to other people. And also I, frankly, don't really look at the emails. Like I just don't, it just somehow that vehicle does not register with me if someone is sharing what they do. I follow people on the same places I just told you: Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Pinterest. That really is where you get my attention. So the one thing I probably will do is possibly, and I'm not quite sure how to do it, and I'm not going to go on Patreon. Like I have a whole bunch of reasons as a professional artist, but more so as an art teacher. I never want to deny anyone an access to me, just for my own philosophy. And so I will put up my process videos. I will put up my teaching classes. I will put up sharing my knowledge, but it will be available to everyone. There will never be a requirement of a subscription, or you have to pay some extra money for me to share my knowledge with you. I am too much of an art teacher. I just can't do it. And also I'm never going to put up like, buy me a coffee where, oh, give me a tip, it be on YouTube. I'm not knocking anybody else. I'm just saying, for me, spending 2 decades teaching impoverished, underprivileged groups like Native American and extremely poor white children, I just won't do it. But what I will do is be very appreciative if you buy my art, buy my designs, buy my, original work for a decent price, promote me. I want to say more about that. Before I say more about that, let me say that I want to check into Etsy, and if Etsy has a way, well, of course they do, because you get what I might do is actually use the addresses if it's kosher. I got to make sure it's okay to do it. Like I'm not breaking any law on Etsy. I would love to, I love sending out actually my artwork on postcards and cards to my clients, to my patrons. I do it already. People who have bought my work, if I have their address, I will periodically, Valentine's Day, Christmas, or just whenever, send out, print off original work and send them a little card, which is actually a little print. And everybody seems to love it, you know, that I send off a mailing, an actual hold in your hand mailing. So yeah, so I guess I'm more apt to do that if I get permission to send off actual postcard mailings to people, because getting a little piece of artwork in the mail seems to be something that people really love to get. Getting just another email doesn't seem to, you know, be so thrilling. So, but I was going to hit on something else. What was I talking about? I was talking about mailing things. I can hear my husband coming down the stairs and trying to be very quiet. Just a sec. Well, I thought I had one more thing to tell you, and I should learn to never say, hold that thought. But maybe while I'm editing, it'll come back to me. So I think that is it. I am going to continue to do stitch kind of wintertime Christmassy things and try and get them up on my Etsy store. I am going to, he's making us hot dogs, so I'm not going to be upset that I can hear him walking around. I am going to continue to promote, and I usually spend between Christmas and New Year's kind of as a time to kind of ponder my next chunk that I want to do in the new year. I do have an art printer that has gone kabunk, and if I want to start doing original work that I am pricing at a certain level, I love to give people the opportunity to also just buy prints and cards of my work if they don't think they can afford the originals. So that's probably something I'm going to try and do in the new year. And I have some personal work that would just be wonderful to get it finished and framed and kind of clear the decks and then start new. So I probably will do that. So I think that's it. Hopefully this will not take long to edit, and I'll get it up Sunday afternoon. But I just hope you have a fantastic holiday season. Of course, I always think about, you know, warm family time and twinkly lights. And I mean, even going into Starbucks is exciting for me. I just have realized it's the atmosphere, it's the sounds, it's the smells, it's the sights. You know, it's something different that makes me love this time. So, okay. Well, I hope you have a wonderful day, and we will talk to you later.